Right, let's jump straight in. So, what we're trying to do here is to set up a database on the cloud where our app can store its users' data. Now, there's a couple of good reasons we want to do this. Firstly, our users could have the app on multiple platforms, say both a phone and a tablet, and we want them to be using the same data. So, for example, if your app was some kind of game and they reached level 3 on the phone, when they boot it up on the tablet, we want them to be able to continue from level 3. If our app was some kind of social media, we want them to keep the same profile, the same friends list, etc. The other good reason for setting up like this is it allows our users to share their data. If it's stored locally, they can't share it with other users. If it's stored in the cloud, they can share photographs, they can share messages, they can share game scores. Now, the software we're using to do this is called Parse Server. Now, Parse Server has changed quite a lot recently. It used to be just called Parse, and it was a paid service that would not only manage your data, but also host it. Now, back in January 2016, it was bought up by Facebook and closed down. Now it's come back as Parse Server, which is open source, and it still allows us to manage our users, still allows us to manage our data, still gives functionality like push notifications. However, it will no longer host that data. So while it is a bit of a pain to have to host our own data, it can be advantageous in the long run because it gives us a lot more control. Now, there are lots of hosting services out there you could use to host Parse Server, but the one we're going to look at in this web series is called Amazon Web Services. Now, the great thing about Amazon Web Services is they offer something called the free tier, which means on certain products, you will get the service for free for a year. You don't pay a setup cost, and you don't pay any hosting costs in that first year. If you choose to keep it after a year, they will start charging you. Equally, I would check your statement regularly just to double check you've picked the right product and they aren't charging you right away. Now, they offer quite a lot of different products, but the one we're going to look at is called Amazon EC2. EC2 stands for Electric Compute Cloud, which basically means the server size will change depending on the demand of your app. So, if your app starts off quite small and unknown, it will stay quite small. However, if your app becomes some kind of overnight hit, it will expand to cope with the demand. Absolutely great for startups when you don't really know how popular your app's going to be. So, in summary, we're going to be setting up a EC2 instance on Amazon Web Services, and we are using that to host our Parse Server database. In the next lecture, I will be talking you through how to set up Amazon Web Services. See you all then! Welcome back! So, last time we looked at what Parse Server and Amazon Web Servers were. This time I'm going to be showing you how to set up your EC2 instance on Amazon Web Services, and on that we're going to install Parse Server. So, first things first, you need to click onto the Sign into the Console button, and that will bring you to this page. Now, if you already have an Amazon account, and I expect quite a lot of you will, you can simply enter your email and password and sign straight in. However, for this tutorial, I'm going to assume that you're a new user and you need to register, and I will talk you through that process. So, first we just enter our email. Make sure I am a new user is clicked, and click sign in. Right, that will bring you to this page. So make sure you enter your name, retype your email, and enter a password. Click create account, ignore that. Right, I'm going to assume for this one it's a personal account. Sure the country's set to the right one. You should obviously enter a real address here, but for now I'm just going to put a stand-in. Let's do the security. Make sure you agree to the agreement. Right, and on this page you'll need to enter some card details. I will just pause the video while I do that. Do remember to check your statement just to make sure if you've chosen the wrong product you're not being charged for it. Right, having entered your card details, you will have to receive a automated phone call and enter the PIN they showed you. Once you've done that, you can press this button. Now for this, I'm going to use just the basic support package as it's the only one that's free. That should be fine for our purposes anyway. Just give that a moment to load. Now you're all signed up, you can click onto the sign into the console button once again. Should have your account email already in there. Just type in your password. And that should bring you to this page, which is the services page. So we're going to go straight up here to services, and we are looking for EC2. Give that just a moment. That should bring you to this quite complicated page, but we're just going to jump straight to the Launch Instance button. Right, from here you need to go down the tabs to the AWS Marketplace, and you are searching for Parse Server. Hit return, and it's this second one you were looking for, the Parse Server powered by Bitnami. Now the great thing about that is it already gets Parse Server and the Parse dashboard installed for us. Now just make sure that you pick this T2 micro instance type. It's the only one that's free tier eligible, as you can see there, and then hit review and launch. Yep, that's all okay, so we can hit launch. Right, it will now ask you to choose a key pair. I'm going to assume for this you don't have a key pair, so go to create a new key pair, and we're going to call this Parse Server key pair. Hit the download button. That will save to your downloads. Now make sure you keep that file somewhere you know where it is and somewhere safe, because if you lose that file you may well lose access to your instance. Very important. Once you have it somewhere secure, you can click Launch Instances. Now this is going to take a little while, so feel free to go and put the kettle on, make yourself a hot drink. I am just going to pause the video while this finishes. Right, once that little setup process is finished, you'll see this very catchy link to your instance. If you just click on it, and you can see it's still loading now, so I'm going to pause the video once again while this finishes. After the instance state starts to read running, and this reads 2 out of 2 checks, just give it a couple more minutes and then it will be up and running. At which point you can copy the public DNS located down here, paste that in, and then you want to put /apps. Hit return. And there you have it, we have Parse Dashboard, and it already has your first app in called My App, which you can click on now. So in summary, we have set up our EC2 instance on Amazon Web Services, and we have installed Parse Server on it. In the next lecture, I'll be showing you how to install Android Studio and Xcode in preparation for connecting to our database. See you all then! Right, welcome back. So last time we set up our EC2 instance on Amazon Web Services and we installed Parse Server on it. This time I'm going to show you how to install Android Studio for Windows. So once you've opened up your browser, you will need to search for Android Studio, like so. That second link looks correct, so click on that. Here's what we want: download Android Studio 2.1. Just tick the checkbox to agree to terms and conditions and hit download again. And that's just going to save to my downloads. I'm just going to pause the video while that download completes. Right, now as you can see here in my downloads folder I have the Android Studio installer, so just double click that. I'll just take a little moment to verify. Make sure you say yes to give it permission to make changes to your PC, otherwise you won't be able to install it. Right, and click next. We do want both the SDK and the virtual device. Click next again. Agree to the terms and conditions, and the default folder locations are okay. And I'm happy with that in my start menu. Click install. I'm just going to pause the video again while that finishes installing. Once that's finally reached its end, you can click the next button, and we can press finish and start Android Studio for the first time. Now I just want to start up a new project quickly, just so we can check all the components are fully updated and ready to go. Just take a little moment to start up. Right, we're just going to click Start a New Android Studio Project. Wait for a moment for that to kick in. I'm just going to use all the default settings for now because we just want to make sure we've done with all the first time setup. Empty activity. Yep, that's fine, so we'll go straight to finish. Now, I'm just going to pause the video a moment while that all loads up. Okay, once you've given that a minute to load, it should have said Gradle build finished at the bottom here. And all we're going to do is we're going to go up to this arrow, which should be labelled as run, and we're just going to click it. Right, you should come to this blank screen. You may have some emulators here already, but I'm just going to show you how to set up an emulator, so I know everyone definitely has one. So if you click Create New Emulator, I'm just going to go with the Nexus 5X, so just click Next. I'm going to go with Marshmallow, click Next, and all those default settings are fine, just click Finish. And we'll just give that a moment to load up. In fact, I'm just going to pause the video. Oh, there we go. Once it's loaded up, just click OK. Now it's going to take a little while to run the first time, so I'm just going to pause the video once again. And you should now be getting the emulator starting up, and you've got the Android startup sequence. We'll just wait for that to fully load up. Just going to pause again until once it's fully done. Eventually it should come to this screen. You get the locked Android app, so if you just click it, and there we can see Hello World, which is coming from the new project. Excellent, so we're all set up. Next lecture I will be showing you how to connect to your Parse server on Android Studio. See you all then. So by now you have successfully installed Android Studio and you're ready to connect your app to your Parse database. First thing you'll need to do is to download this folder, which I've put in the resource section of this lecture for you. I'm just going to move that to a more convenient location. We want here, users, Matthew, and Android Studio projects. I'm just going to paste that in there. Then you need to make sure you extract it. Just give that a moment to work its magic. There we go. Now if you open up Android Studio and you click Open an existing Android Studio project, find where you've put your project, there it is. Parse Starter Project 1.13. Click OK. I'm just going to pause the video while this boots up. Right, by now that should have loaded up successfully. Just a warning to Windows users, if you see an error and you go into the event log and it mentions anything about exceeding the character limit, that is because Windows has a limit to how long the file location can be. So you might find renaming some of the folders to shorter names or moving them up one level will solve that issue. I'll just put the event log away. So once you've got it successfully uploaded, press this arrow. We're looking for Java, and then you're looking for Starter Application. Double click to open, and here we are. So I've already got you started to make this quicker. Down here are the details to connect to your app. The only things you need is your app ID, which by default is my app ID, and we're just going to leave it at that. And you also need the public DNS of the server. So if you open your browser again, on Amazon Web Services, make sure you're logged in, which I already am. Click on EC2, remember it's up here in services if it's not here on your shortcuts. Click up here for running instances. Find your instance and copy the public DNS. Back into Android Studio, we paste that here. And you'll need to add two things. You need to add a / and parse on that end. And you'll also need to make sure you add http and 2 /. It won't work if you don't do that. Okay, that should be the basics to get us connected to our instance. So now we need to add some data to our database to check we can connect correctly to it. So if you just follow me, I will show you all the code you need. So first we're going to write parse object. We're going to call this score. New parse object. 2 parentheses, speech marks, and then score. Make sure you add your semicolon. Yep, that looks okay. Then we have score dot put a semicolon now so I don't forget. So inside our class of score we're going to add username. We'll call that Matt. And we will also put the actual score. Let's say I got 4 points. So we've made our class, our parse object or class of score. We then put a username and the actual score inside of that. And finally we need to save it to the database, which we do with save in background. Semicolon. Right, once you've copied that out correctly, you can press the big arrow at the top, the run command. Click OK on the emulator, and hopefully it should all work out. I'm just going to pause the video while this finishes running, while this finishes compiling and running. Right, once your Android says hello world, that means the build has finished compiling and running. So you need to take this public DNS again, put that in the address bar and add /apps so we can see our database and see if it's been successful. Click into my app and there you have it. So we have our class of score. It has a score of 4 and it's got a username of Matt. Excellent. So you have successfully saved data to your database. So, little challenge next. I want you to delete this bit of code, and from memory I want you to try and save a new object with a different username and a different score. Okay, so once again you need to retype that code but save it with a different username and a different score. Best of luck! So let's see how you get on. So we need to make our parse object of score. Which is equal to a new parse object. Score. Oh, that should be capitalized. We need to put some columns in score, so we're going to add username again. This time we will say Tony. Column. And we'll also need to add her score, which I'm going to say she's done better than me and she scored 8 points. And finally we need to save it. Oops. forgot what I was doing there for a moment. Save in background. So now we're just going to run that, and I'm going to pause the video while it is compiling. Just say OK to the emulator. Right, so the emulator is all loaded up, so let's check our database to see whether we successfully added data. And there it is! So we've added another row with a new username and a different score. Excellent! So I just have a couple of things left to show you, which is firstly how to load an object from the database, and then how we update that object. So we no longer need to save stuff, so we can get rid of that. So to load an object, we are going to use parse query. We need angle brackets, and we're trying to grab a parse object. Just call it query. Oops, it's the wrong key there. We need to get query. After the class score. Okay. Then we need to know which row we're getting it from, so we need query get in background, and it should be this first one. No, it's not going to do for me. So what we need to know is the ID of the row. So if you go back to your database, so we'll take this first row, double click to edit, and then we're going to copy that catchy ID name, place that in there. So now notice which row it's coming from. Come on, new, get callback. Oops, need angle brackets. Again, it's a parse object. A curly bracket there. Just set up the end of that, make sure there's a semicolon there. Then we need @override. Public void. Done. Parse object again, object, parse exception, E. So that little complicated bit of code there, all that is trying to do is it's going to attempt to load that parse object. If it succeeds, it will give us the object. And if it doesn't, it will fill in this variable called E. So that's how we're going to know if it's successful or not. So we're going to ask if E contains anything, or if E is equal to null. We know it's succeeded and it's got a parse object waiting for us. So we're now going to update the object. It's the code to do that. We're going to use object put, because we already have it. I'm going to update the score. I'm going to say I did a little better this time and give you 16. Don't forget to semicolon, and then as always we need to save it, otherwise it won't make any changes. Semicolon. Right, that all looks okay, so next we're going to run this. I'm just going to pause while that compiles. So we've got our lovely hello world again, so we're going to double check the database and see if that's updated. Yes, so I now have a score of 16. So now for your final challenge of 2, I'd like you to take all of this code, delete it, and I want you to update one of your rows and change the username this time. Okay, so you need to load the data from one of the rows, and you need to update the username and save it. Ready? Go! So here's how I would have done. So first we need to tell it what class we're after. Oops, keep doing that. Forget my shift. So just as before, pause parse query dot get query, and we're after score. Then we need to fetch the row. So for this we need that very memorable ID again. Copy and paste that. Oops. Come on, new. Oops. Get callback. No, I shouldn't have capitalized that. Again, parse object. What's gone wrong there? Why do I have an extra parenthesis? I know I should do. Okay, just add a semicolon on there before I forget. We need override. Public void. Done. Parse object. Bring it back as an object if you do get it. If not, we want an exception. E. And then, as long as E is empty or null, we want to update our data. Sorry, a little too far there. So we'll take object dot put. This time we'll have username, and we'll update it to semicolon, and then we just need to save it. Excellent. Right, I'm just going to run this and then I'll pause the video one last time while it compiles. Right, we've got our old friend Hello World, so let's see if the database has updated. Give it a refresh, and fantastic, we've changed the username. So, in summary, we have learned how to save new data to our Parse database, we have learned to load it, and we've also learned to update it. Fantastic, you've done a really good job, well done. So, now you're all connected to Parse Server using Android Studio, it's time to have a go with Xcode. In this first lecture, I will be showing you how to install Xcode on OS X. So first things first, you need to open up your browser, and you need to search for, download Xcode 8 beta 3, which at the time of making of this video is the latest beta. So you're looking for download to developer Apple. You will need to sign in with your Apple account, which I already am, and then you can click download Xcode 8. Right, that's going to take some time to download, so I'm going to pause the video in. Right, once that's finished downloading and it's extracted itself, you can go into your Finder, go to Downloads, and simply drag and drop it across to Applications. Open that up. And if we just scroll down to the bottom here, you'll find Xcode. Excellent. So we can now go about opening that up. Just close the browser. Oops. There we go. Right, that's going to need a minute to load and boot up, so I'm just going to pause, especially while it verifies. Right, now that's finished verifying, we can just click the bouncing icon to open it. Make sure you agree to the agreement. Just need to sign in with my password. Right, I'm just going to pause the video again while it finishes installing components. Now it's finally reached this stage, we can click Create a new Xcode project. We're just going to go with a single view application, click Next, call it My App. I'm just going to use my name as the company identifier. Click Next. And yeah, we'll just save it on the desktop. I'm going to say don't allow twin contacts because we don't need that. And just to test it's working, we're going to hit the Run button here. That will bring up this, asking you whether to enable developer mode. I am for this. Just type in my password again. Should just compile. Excellent, build succeeded, so it should be booting up the emulator, which we can see here. Just going to pause the video one last time just while the emulator finishes booting. And as you can see here, our emulator has finished booting and our Xcode is all working properly. Excellent! So, in summary, we've installed Xcode and we're all ready to go. Next lecture, I will be showing you how to connect to your Parse database with Xcode. See you all then! So, last time we successfully installed Xcode on OS X, and now we are going to connect our Xcode app to Parse Server. So, the first thing you'll need to do is to download this Parse Server starter project that I've made for you, which you will find in the resource section of this lecture. Once you've downloaded and extracted it, you can open it up in the Finder, and you can open Parse Starter Project/Swift. Sorry, I meant -Swift. Right, that should bring you to Xcode. We'll full screen that. A couple of things to make sure of before we start. Make sure you have this taskbar at the bottom, which has the all output, because we'll be using that later. The other thing to do is to go into the resources folder and this info.list, and you'll find an option called app transport security seconds with arbitrary loads in it. Make sure that's set to yes. It should be by default, but it's good just to make sure. So now you can open up your starter project and click app-delegate.swift. Here you'll see we've got the app ID, which we're going to leave as the default my app ID, and we've got the server URL, which we need to set to our DNS. So let's go get that. Open up our browser. Hit that full screen. Search for Amazon Web Services. Log in. Once that catches up. There we go. Just type in your password quickly. Click EC2 down here. And finally hit running instances. And we have our list of instances. And here you can see the public DNS, which is what we're after. So simply copy that and paste that like so. There we go. There's a couple of things we need to add to that, which is /parse on the end, and at the beginning we need http : and 2 forward slashes. Right, that should be enough to connect us up to our database. Now we need to start using some code to save some data there. So if you go over to viewcontroller.swift, we are going to make a new class called users. So we need to let user equal bf object with a class name, class name of users. Then we can take user and add a row to it called name, which for now I'm going to set to my name. And then finally we need to save it to the database, so we'll use our good old friend save in background. We want to know if it succeeded or produced an error. If it has succeeded, we're going to want to print object saved in the logs. Otherwise, we will put the error message in there, and we will print that error message in the logs. Or if worst case scenario there isn't even an error message, we can simply print error in the logs. Okay, that looks all ready to go, so we can go ahead and run that. I'm just going to pause the video while the emulator boots up. Right, we can now see the emulator's finished booting. I'm just going to close this, keep it a bit more simple, and go back to our Xcode, and if we have a look at the logs and scroll up carefully, there we go, we can see object saved. Now, if we jump across to our database, so if we take that public DNS again, copy that, open up a new tab, paste that in like so, and go /apps. We should be able to see in Parse dashboard. Yep, there we go, so there's our new class of users, and we've got name with my name in. Fantastic! So now, little challenge for you. I want you to take all this code, delete it, and I want you to save a new user to your Parse database with a different name. So again, you'll need to save a user, and it must be a different name. When you're ready, off you go. Right, I hope you managed that. I'm going to show you how I would have done it, just to make sure. So we're going to make user again. We're going to set it to a PF object. I'm going to put a class name in it called users. Going to make a row inside that. My apologies, we're going to make a column inside that with name, and we're going to set that to, I'm going to set it to Tony this time. Then we need to save that. Oops, that's just warning me I've made an error because I've used capital C on class name. That's better. So we're going to use save in background again. We want to know if it's successful or produced an error. It is successful. We'd like to print object saved. Otherwise, we'd like to store the error message and print it in the logs. And again, worst case scenario, if there's no error message, we're just going to print the word error. Okay, and we're just going to run that. Oh no, we've got to stop our first one from running, and then we're going to run that. Just give that a moment to compile. That succeeded. Yep, our emulator looks happy. So if we go back to Xcode, Yep, and there again we have object saved. And if we just jump over to our database and refresh, there we go, we have a new user with a different name. Excellent, so we can now successfully save data to our database. So the next thing we need to be able to do is to load and to update our data. So I'm going to go, oops, not that one. I've just deleted the code we've just written because we don't want to keep saving over and over again. Instead, we're going to start a new query. We need to tell it what class name we are looking for. In this case, that's users. And then we need to actually fetch the object. We need get object in background via its ID, which we can handily get from our database. You'll see here every object has an automatically created object ID, so if we just double click to edit, and then we can copy it, go back into Xcode, between the double quotes, and we can paste it like so. Excellent. And we need our curly brackets, make sure we end that straight away. And if this is successful, we're expecting a object. If not, we're expecting an error. So if error contains anything, or in this logic, if it's not equal to null, we know we've had a problem and we can print that error. Otherwise, we can assume we've been successful. So we're going to set user equal to the object we just grabbed. Excellent, so now we've loaded it. We actually want to update it. So we're going to take that name column and we're going to change it to something else. I'm going to change this one to Sammy. So since we're updating an object, we need to save it, otherwise there won't be any changes. So we're going to use save in background. And this can either succeed or give us an error. Oop, nearly forgot my curly brackets, that's why you should write it straight away. And if it succeeds, oops, and I've misspelled user, that's not going to help. If it succeeds, we're just going to print success. Otherwise, we're just going to print error. Okay, and we're ready to run, so let's give that a go. I'm just going to pause the video while the emulator boots up. Right, now the emulator is successfully booted, we can go back to our Xcode. Yep, that's just coming through now. So it's a little premature there. And we have some kind of error. So let's just check our database. Yes, so nothing's updated. So the reason we get this strange error is because we have a column in our table called access control list. And if you double click for the one we were trying to change, you'll notice that the public have permission to read the files but not to write them. So they can load them but they can't update them. So we're just going to click write and we're going to click save. And now if we go back to our program, stop it and rerun it, it should now run successfully. In fact, I'm just going to pause the video while it catches up. So that seems to have finished, so we're going to move over back to our database and give it a refresh, and there we go. We successfully updated the name. So, final challenge time now. What I'd like you to do is to delete this code, and I'd like you to load your other row in your database and also change the name. And don't forget to correct your access control list so you can actually do so successfully. So, whenever you're ready, off you go. So I assumed you managed it, so let's have a go. So again, we're going to create a new query. Oops. PF query. We need to tell it what class we're after, which will still be users. And that query we need to use get object, but without a capital G. Get object in background with ID. So we need to go get the other ID. As at this point I'll just check the access control list while I'm here. There we go, save AC1. Right, back into Xcode. Paste that there, excellent. With ID. Then we know if this is successful, we're expecting an object, and if not, we're expecting an error. We then want to check if error is empty, and as long as it isn't, we know we've had a problem, and we can simply print that error. If it is empty, we can assume we've been successful, and we can put that object in user. And then we can change the name. So this time I'm going to set it to Tom. Perfect, and last thing we need to do is to save it. And this can either be successful or we get an error. Now what I've not done there is put my other curly bracket, so I ought to do that now. If it's successful, we can simply print it, and the logs print saved. And if not, we're just going to print error. Okay, that looks about right, so we're going to give that a go. Just going to pause the video one last time while this finishes. Right, that all appears to be working, so we can go back to our database, hit refresh, and there we have it! So, now you know how to both save data to a database with Xcode and to load it and update it. You've done really well, you've come a really long way. Absolutely fantastic.